What is going on, everybody? What's going on? Is your host David, and I'm here with another episode. I got a very special guest. It's Mill Media.
Hi
She covers a
guys.
lot of good. She covers a lot of good Knicks content. One of the main reasons before we get into like the questioning and all the topics, one of the reasons that I wanted to have her on is because she is a young woman in the media industry covering a certain type of team. You really don't see that much nowadays. It's mostly guys and men that are really covering the media aspect of the game. I'm a very high candidate of having both men and women, especially women, because now we're in a generation where a lot of women should get opportunities and stuff like that, and we're more equal now. So I think to see a young woman like her that's doing coverages not only on one team but just on one sport in general. It's very cool to see. So I wanted to have her on the show to kind of give her aspect of how it is covering media, the Knicks perspective, how long she's been a fan, and we get to talk about just some Knicks talk in general. So first of all, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So my first question that I wanted to ask you was, what got you into covering, the Knicks, and what got you into the media game in general?
Yeah, so a few years ago I actually had a Knicks fan page. This was like 5 to 6 years ago. It was for one particular player. I would usually just post about the games and then about him. And I kind of just let that go. But this year, recently, I got more into it because for the longest time, I've been saying I just want to start a page. I just want to do it. I want to start talking Knicks and give my opinion because usually, like, I'm just talking to myself after these games. I'm just like doing the post game by myself, thinking about what happened. But I want to hear other people's thoughts and give my opinion too. So that's why I got into it.
So when was it that you started just covering the Knicks as a whole? Because you said you went from one player and then it
Yeah.
kind of revolved into.
So
So what made you go into the Knicks as a whole?
Well, because I've been a fan since I've been growing ever since I was little. Growing up, my dad got me into basketball, and I've been into basketball like as a sport for the longest time. I used to play it, I don't anymore, and well, I've been a Knicks fan for the longest time. So I just thought like they're the main team I watch. I might as well start like covering them in media. And the school I went to for high school was actually like a journalism high school. So I already have that journalism aspect. Like, I know that's in me, and I know that sports is my passion. So I thought combine the two, sports media.
That's cool. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I basically it was baseball first. As we
Yeah.
spoke about through the M's, it was, I'm a Met fan.
Yeah.
Um, so it was baseball first, and then as I kind of started going, it was basketball. But the thing is, basketball I started watching during 2011, like 2010ish, 2011. So I was there for the Carmelo Anthony, the
Yeah.
J.R.
Yeah.
Smiths, all
Same.
that, the good times. And then once, like around that time, media coverages weren't as crazy as it is now. So as I started getting older and I started, because I was also playing basketball and baseball, and then I stopped. And then, once you start getting more advantage with technology, and you start using
Yeah.
your phone and you start using your social media outlets or whatever, I started, getting into it. And it's been fun.
Exactly.
It's every day posting. It's a lot of work, especially if you don't have free time. At one point when I was working, I'm not working now, but when I was working, I didn't have anybody to really post while I was working. So I was
Yeah.
missing on a lot of days. Um, and I was pretty much, it was my accounts were empty for a while. But then once I stopped working, because of personal issues, I really it was every day posting, um, posting Knicks content every day. I joined Twitter Spaces as well, for like Knicks
Oh
post
yeah.
games and stuff like that. Like today, actually, we played the Cavs, and I'm gonna be joining one after, and they're hectic at times. So
Yeah.
I recommend people
I
that
usually just
really.
listen.
I recommend like people that are not used to it to really, be careful, because if you request to speak and they don't like your takes, they're gonna let you know.
Yeah.
Like they'll question you, and they'll be like, they'll shout you out and they'll ask you a certain take that you'll say. So if they say Julius Randle is gonna be the MVP of the league, right? A ridiculous take like that,
Mm-hmm.
they'll question it and be like, what makes you think Julius Randle is going to be the MVP this year? And then you're going to have to go through a whole soliloquy of why you think Julius Randle is going to be MVP. So it's fun because nowadays, like, see how you and me are having a conversation about
Yeah.
Knicks topics and stuff like that. I don't have certain Knick people or like certain Knick fans or like certain people like me. Like, I don't have people next to me that are constantly want to talk about the Knicks, right? So you
Yeah.
have those spaces to where you could go in and you can, talk every day or after the Knick game and just go on for hours. So it gets toxic and it gets hectic, but it's fun for sure.
Yeah.
During the time that you started watching the Knicks, was that around the time Melo was there and
Yeah,
we were making the playoffs?
it was the same time around you, like 2011, 2012. That's when I really got into it. And those were some good days, especially
so
2013.
So knowing that around that time when we were successfully, making the playoffs and stuff like that, did
Yeah.
you know that the Knicks were at one point like on the ground before Carmelo came and him and Amari kind of matched up?
I mean, my dad had told me mostly about that since I didn't really get to watch the games, but I knew a little bit from there.
So how long, like for example, because we picked up once Melo joined, we picked up right away. Like
Yeah.
we were winning, we were making the playoffs. What did you like? Were you watching the games consistently, or was it like on and off type of thing?
I think it was what year did he join the Knicks?
He joined the Knicks in 2011, if I'm not
2011.
mistaken.
Okay, so
2010, 2011, around there.
I think that I think the year after he joined is probably when I started watching consistently.
Okay. Okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was like around 2010, 2011. He got traded, uh, which a lot of people say that it was probably the best and the worst because we gave up so much for him to Denver.
Yeah.
And Denver has a lot of young guys now that are part of that trade. But I don't regret it. The only thing that I do, and people are gonna kill me, and you may not agree because I saw your post on Donovan Mitchell. I don't think going in for Donovan Mitchell was a smart thing, and I'll tell you why. And you can disagree or agree, however you feel. The reason that I feel that Donovan Mitchell thing, I'm glad that it didn't work out, was because you already have three ball dominant players in Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and RJ Barrett that are on the team. And you're going to add a fourth guy, right?
Yeah.
And possibly he would have been the third guy if we didn't go in for Jalen Brunson. Because, mind you, the trade talks were happening with Donovan Mitchell before we signed Jalen Brunson. So it would have been Donovan Mitchell, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, and it would have been the same bullcrap that we're dealing with now, right?
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm happy that we got Jalen Brunson. As much as everybody wants to, go back and forth on, if we should have signed him or not, because there were Knicks fans that weren't really too happy about it until he started showing his production. But I do see the negative effects of signing Donovan Mitchell, just because, again, he's a very ball dominant player. He's very selfish with the ball at times. And again, we would have given up so much for him that I think it was either you win now or you break the team up. And they weren't going to do that with Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell was being traded for a reason in Utah, because you see what Utah is doing. Utah's winning, but in all naturality, they're in the beginning process, they were trying to break it down. They were trying to tank. And it didn't work like that. So now they're just going based off the coattails of what the team is doing, if they make the play in or not. But Danny Ainge, in my opinion, really broke that team up in Utah to really tank.
Yeah.
So that's why they traded like a Gobert and they traded Donovan Mitchell. So I think it would have been stupid if the Knicks would have got him, and then we would have probably been first round, second round exits for like 4 straight years. Because again, as much as people want to say about Julius Randle, he him and Jalen Brunson run that offense, and you're just going ISO the whole time. If you watch the game, if anybody watches the game, they see Tom Thibodeau is always running ISO plays for Julius Randle. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I don't think I'm a little bit glad that Donovan Mitchell didn't get traded here. What's your thoughts on that as far as the trade?
I used to like when that trade happened, I was really hurt because I did want him on the Knicks, and not only because he's an amazing player, because I think the reception he would have got from the fans would have been amazing too. I mean, he loves the Mets, and I just think he has this like good relationship with New York. But
Mm-hmm.
besides that, I think now I somewhat agree with you, like saying that
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be we already have three ball dominant players, and
Dumb
I
players.
was I did another post before, saying, do we still need Levine? Because look at the numbers that our big three are putting up. They're each averaging over 20 points per game. Do we really need another star to put up more points? And I don't think so. And during that 9-game winning streak that we had earlier this year, I really didn't think we needed another star because we were playing so well, and Randall was playing well, Brunson. We were all communicating good and playing good together as a team. And it made me think like we can do this. We can possibly make it to the playoffs if we keep playing like this. And their defense was super good. Like now that I think about it, I honestly don't really think we needed to do like everything to get Donovan Mitchell. I like the guys that we have here, but it's just sometimes in the fourth quarter, no one's able to get a bucket. You think about what if we had him, he would be able to do it. He could make that game winning shot that Brunson misses a few times, Randall misses a few times. He could make that defensive stop. There's all this what ifs about what if he was here, especially during this time when we're on a losing streak.
Yeah, I mean, he was on record um, on JJ Redick's podcast a couple months ago, and he basically said that he thought he was going to New York.
Yeah.
As soon as he heard that the Utah Jazz were going to trade him, and that the Knicks were always in conversations, he was telling his friends, he was telling family that he was going to the Knicks. So when I saw that, my heart kind of broke because I
Yeah,
was like,
same.
normally you don't hear that. Like normally you don't hear players going up and saying, "Yo, I'm going to New York," or "I'm going to the Knicks," or whatever. The
Yeah.
only person to really say that was Melo, and I remember this very distinctively because his first night, his debut game, they interviewed Lala, and they asked her, what did Melo say, or how did you find out when he got officially traded? And she basically said that he told her, he was like, "Yo, baby, we're coming home, or we're going to
Wow.
the Knicks," type of thing. So that's kind of like the closest
Yeah.
to somebody really being honest and really saying that they wanted or that they were coming here. So when he said that, I was like, damn. But like I said, there's a positive and there's a negative to it. You bring up the Levine thing. It's the same thing. I
Yeah.
don't want Zach Levine. I'm gonna be straightforward.
Yeah.
I do not want Zach Levine. Anybody that thinks that Levine is gonna make us a better team, no. Him and DeMar DeRozan can't even cut it. So what makes you think him, Jalen Brunson, and Julius Randle are gonna do that? It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But knowing Leon Rose, knowing Scott, knowing how the front office in total works, knowing how Tom Thibodeau plays a hand in most of their decisions because him and Leon Rose are like best friends. It, I would not be shocked if we get a thing during the trade deadline saying that Zach LaVine is coming here. And, there are going to be New Yorkers that are going to like it because, Zach LaVine still has the all-star numbers and, all-star potential. But one, he's another ball-dominant player, has no defense, can score the ball, but again, how is that going to affect him when he gets to the playoffs?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Donovan Mitchell. You have three ball dominant players,
Mm-hmm.
and as much as everybody wants to say how good Donovan Mitchell is, he can't play defense. So
Yeah, that's true.
that's the thing that's going to suck in the playoffs. You need really good defense, and if you remember 2 years ago or 3 years ago when we made the playoffs and we played against the Hawks, that was one of our biggest issues.
Mm-hmm.
Because and on top of that, during that time, the offense was ran through Julius Randle. So the Hawks played that very well. They played it very smart.
Yeah.
You saw the Knicks getting they were very tight when Julius Randle couldn't score the ball. We didn't particularly have another star there. So Julius Randle was kind of like the only star besides RJ Barrett. But again, RJ Barrett wasn't really aggressive like that, like he is now. Like
Yeah.
if you pay attention to last season, RJ Barrett was that's to me, regardless of what anybody wants to say about RJ Barrett, last season was when RJ Barrett, found his niche and really was being aggressive, shooting the ball with confidence, and was really like on his game. 3 years ago, he had it a little bit, but it wasn't to the full extent like we see this year and like we saw last season. So Julius Randle was the only guy that they were running the offense through, and when the Hawks were double teaming him, the Knicks couldn't find another
Yeah,
legit scorer. So
exactly.
you kind of saw it. So I don't think I think it'd be different now because Julius Randle was playing out of his mind.
Yeah.
But I don't think a Zach LaVine is gonna help. I do though think that if you go to the thing with Cam Reddish with the Grayson Allen trade, I do think Grayson Allen is a good pickup.
Me
As
too.
much as Knick fans don't like it, I think he's a good pickup because the guy can shoot. We have no legit shooters, and he plays defense. So
Yeah.
I think that is a good pickup. Do you see it working out? Do you think the Knicks should trade Cam Reddish for
Yeah, I honestly think if Cam's not going to play, we might as well get someone who will. Hopefully, if we were to get him, Tibbs would play him. He's the type of guy, like a lot of people said, you don't like him if he's not on your team, but if he's on your team, you're going to support him because he's done a lot of things in the past. We know, we've seen it.
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully, he's grown from that. But he's still a good defensive player. He makes his free throws, and he's I think he would help the Knicks because our bench is struggling. We're slacking. If he can come off the bench and provide that spark for us, that would really be helpful. Because when we played against the Bucks, I noticed like you can tell everyone in the Bucks like they were that game. We like almost had it, and you can tell in the fourth quarter, like their playoff and championship experience, like it was shown. They knew how to handle the fourth
Hmm.
quarter. They knew what to do down the stretch. And if he can help us with that, because he has playoff experience, if he can like settle us down in the fourth quarter, because that's where things get bad, he can help us maybe make some threes, get some defensive stops, and I think he's a good pickup.
I mean, even if you switch him, I know a lot of Knicks fans probably won't agree, but even if you switch
With,
him to
yeah,
starting
with
role
Grimes.
and you put Grimes in the
Yeah,
bench, have Grimes come off the bench
I think that could work
with
too.
quickly, that would be perfect because now there's not so much pressure on Grimes
Yeah,
to really score on a nightly basis like that. He's more fresh off the bench. He can score the bucket better. His athleticism and the way he moves, his IQ is very smart. He passes the ball. Him and Emmanuel quickly will be a great combination. Then you put iHeart. I despise iHeart. Let me just say
me
that. But
too.
again, he's as much as I hate him, he's obviously they're not moving him, unfortunately. So
Yeah,
you have him come off the bench, or you have Sims come off the bench, and you kind of work it that way. Again, one piece can change everything. I don't know if you've heard too that Knicks fans want Kyle Kuzma,
yeah,
so
I've seen that.
um, they're kind of going through a depression phase right now because yesterday the Wizards announced that
Yeah,
that he's not on the trade. So once that
that
came up and I
sucks.
posted it, everybody's like, they're like, "What the hell?" So
So he's gone.
I
He's not
was
on our list anymore.
no. Well, the thing is too is because they're trying to win with him.
Yeah,
He's again with any team that he goes on, he's a winner. He makes your team that much better. The guy could score very sufficiently. He's a great defender. He can move the ball, and even though he's more of a scorer and he's not a facilitator like that, he's definitely beneficial to any team.
yeah.
So you see what he's doing with the Wizards now. Excuse me. The Wizards, when since they made that trade yesterday with the Lakers, to me they've gotten so much better.
Yeah.
They've gotten way
You
better
think they
than
got the better
what they
end
were
of it?
now. I think so. I think so. And the thing with the Lakers is that It's to me, first of all, I think his first name is Rui, right?
Yeah.
Roy,
Yeah, I think it's
Rui.
something like that.
He he's come to me. He's coming off the bench. I don't think he's starting. So you put that into consideration. A lot of the Lakers starting pieces are not cutting it. I mean, you have LeBron, but again, LeBron can't do much. Westbrook is playing much better than he was when he first joined, but he's not the same Westbrook that we all have seen to
Yeah.
know. So he's not really going to be beneficial to the Lakers that much. Um, and it just seems like maybe them either making the play-in or not making the playoffs at all is probably the right direction to go through, because they don't really have, they picked him up, but again, he's a bench piece. Now, if he starts for the Lakers, then that's a whole different thing. Now you're kind of seeing what they can gamble with, and where they can transition. But if you put them in the starting lineup, their bench, you're not adding more pieces to their bench. Their bench is kind of like what the Knicks are
Yeah.
going through, kind of, because they can't really score. I watched their game against Memphis, and they were kind of doing okay, but you could see that they were kind of losing the lead little by little. And it wasn't until Westbrook came back in, and because I know Westbrook was coming off the bench for a little bit,
Yeah.
but I think he was starting that Memphis game, and it wasn't until they started bringing back Westbrook, and they put Dennis Schroeder in. Then they started kind of putting back their starters, and the Lakers were able to put up the intensity and really take the lead like that. So I think he's coming off the bench, but I think the Wizards. A lot of people think the Lakers did, but I think the Wizards kind of took the W on that trade. Which I don't know. Which to me, I think the Knicks should have picked him up, just because, like I said, he's such a good bench piece. But Leon Rose, I don't know what he's doing. I think his Twitter right now is being bombarded. So it's hilarious because I stopped DMing him after like the fifth time this season. I try to DM him and I try to be nice, and then my last DM was just full of curse words, and because I'm just like at some point, because you know what it is, I don't understand. I think that my issue with Knick fans is I think they're afraid to get kicked out of the Garden,
Yeah.
because he's there almost every game, but they see him sitting there, and I think they want to tell him how they feel, but they don't want to get kicked
They
out.
don't want to get
So they're
banned from
not gonna.
MSG.
They're not trying to do that. So I tried to, but his security is so intense
Yeah, I
that
bet
it's
it
like you can't
is.
even get through. I saw where he was sitting at, so I tried to like make it seem like I was trying to go get a picture with him, even though I was not gonna do that. But I tried to. His security was very intense. Like they wouldn't let nobody in.
Wow.
They wouldn't even ask him. Like, usually when you have security around, they would ask you like, "Oh, do you know this person?" or "This person wants to get
Yeah.
a picture with you. Is that okay?" They didn't even ask. They were just like, "No, you can't."
Wow.
So it's either he wasn't in the mood, or he's just not a fan of certain Knicks fans, or he just wasn't having a good day or whatever. But regardless of what it is, it's his fault,
Yeah.
because you're making, there's a lot of decisions that you could be making right now as far as the team. There are a lot of people that do say that the Knicks should have tanked last season when they had the opportunity, and I agree. I think um, I think you're better off going into the draft. If people don't know too much about the draft, this draft is stacked this year. It's at least like 1 through 15, at least, full of like wing players, 3D wing players that are very sufficient, that can get you a bucket. Um, it's very stacked this year. I think this draft is going to be fun for a lot of young teams like the Hornets, like the Pelicans. The Pelicans are not even in they're like top 5 right now, but they have so many first round picks that they could get anybody in the draft. The Grizzlies are the same team. So teams like look at the Grizzlies too. Grizzlies are what, like top 30, something like that, and they
Yeah.
have a bunch of first round picks. So you think about that, that plays into consideration as well. So this draft is going to be very fun. So it would have been cool for the Knicks to, even though it would have sucked, we would have been seeing a lot of losing. It would have been more smart from a front office standpoint for them to really tank and really, get into the draft, rebuild a little bit, try to trade Julius Randle. Now, when you have the opportunity, do you think they're gonna trade him, or you think he's here for his full contract?
Randall, I think Randall's staying. I
You think he's staying?
honestly, with the way he's performing right now, I know a lot of people are going to say trade him, but our front office, they're not going to do that. He's performing. He's
Yeah,
doing his job right
he's
now.
too much of a buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah, they love him. They love him. He's too much of a
that would be shocking
guy
though
that
if that were to happen. Because I don't think,
if they were to trade
yeah, I
him,
don't think our front office would do that.
yeah, they would. It would be beneficial because
Could
he's
be.
playing out of his mind right now, and I'm like, what are your thoughts on like Julius Randle overall? Like since he's been a Knick, like do you like him now? Do you don't care about him? Like how is it? Because I get flagged for it all the time because I'm always saying like Julius Randle could have like a triple double,
Yeah,
and I will always come in my space the spaces. And part of my take would be, I don't want to hear no Julius Randle slander today because the man balled
yeah.
out. And then they would give me shit because they're like, forget about Randle. Da, 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 he needs to be gone. So like, what is your like? Do you care about Randle? You don't care whether he's off for this team or not? Do you think we'll succeed or whatever? Like, what's your thoughts on Julius Randle?
Yeah, well, I think he deserved an apology from me because last year I gave him a lot of hate and negative feedback for the way he was playing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of Knicks fans did. Last year, it was a mess. His attitude wasn't good. The way he was responding to teammates, to fans, it wasn't positive at all. And that's why I wanted him off the team. I mean, yeah, he wasn't performing well,
Yeah,
but it was also because of the way he was reacting that I just didn't want him on the Knicks. But this,
yeah.
and I honestly really wanted him traded. Like I remember the end of last season, or I just wanted him gone. The end of last season, I'm saying I'm not gonna watch the Knicks if he's still there. I can't. Like he has not been good to us. This season comes around and he's like completely changed. His attitude is better, which is really good. And obviously his numbers are up. He's averaging 24 points per game, 10 rebounds per game. I'm really happy that he's playing well. And I personally think like the slander he gets is unbelievable and a little bit too crazy. There was one night he had a bad shooting night, right? But he still was able to put up I think 25 or maybe 30 points. And everyone was saying,
I know what game you're
"Yeah,
talking about.
he
Hmm.
had a bad shooting night, but
Hmm.
he still put up a good like set of numbers." And everyone was in the comments saying, "Oh, now it's time to trade him. Oh, like he's not what we thought he was." It's a one bad shooting night. Every player gets it. Brunson gets it. RJ gets it. But for some reason, he gets that hate like a little more. I guess because he's supposed to be like our main player. He's supposed to perform well every night. I guess, but you can't expect that from him like every night to be amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I defend
Yeah.
them. When it comes to certain situations, I recently on my last, what was it when we played when we played the Hawks, Jalen Brunson played like
Yeah.
absolute trash. Like I have to hold them accountable when I have to. In my space, in that space when they held the post game space after the Hawks game, I said not sorry, not the Hawks game, the Raptors game, sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Jalen Brunson played like trash in that game as well. And Julius Randle had a great game. I specifically in the thing I said I have to hold Jalen Brunson accountable because again, he's our star point guard. We're giving him this money and he's been playing great. But also if you guys are gonna hold somebody like Julius Randle accountable for absolutely nothing wrong that he did
Yeah.
today besides a couple turnovers, there's like things you could point
Mm-hmm.
out during that game about what Julius Randle did. I mean, if you remember, he had an argument with Evan
Yeah.
Fournier
I saw that.
because of the double team. Randle recently has been a little bit bad with the double team, but he started off the season well, like reading double teams and stuff like that. There are a couple plays where, like, once the double team came, he should have passed it out because there was a wide open man, and he was dribbling the ball, just holding
Mm-hmm.
it. He was waiting for that double team to come so that he could just pass it out and then possibly cause a turnover. So there are certain aspects of that. Like I understood why Evan was mad, but at the same time, I do agree that uh, that if you're gonna hold Julius Randle accountable, at least hold everybody else accountable as well, because it just makes sense in my end.
Yeah. Give me 1 second, sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry about that.
You
What was
good?
the last thing you were
You
saying?
good to go?
Yeah.
No, just holding Julius Rand. If you're gonna hold Julius Randle accountable, it's the same thing gotta go for everybody else. If you seen the Raptors game, Julius Randle was the only one playing aggressive, only taking the ball into the hole as much as he needed to. Nobody else was really scoring
Yeah.
efficiently like that. So when that space came up, and I was like, I don't believe that Julius Randle should be getting any hate tonight whatsoever. But you have those people that are consistently, just giving him little bits of hate just for like the small things. And it's like last season I get it, because I was one of those people. The last game that I actually like defended him before I was like, nah, I need him off my team, was the Kings game when he scored like 46 points last season. That was like the
Oh,
only
yeah.
game, the very last game that I was like hyping him up. But then, like right after that, I was like, "Yo, he needs to be off my team. Like
Yeah.
now, he
Me
needs to be
too.
traded. If they're gonna cut him. I don't care. Eat that money, because that contract is that's a small
That's
contract.
heartfelt too.
If you ask me, that's a contract. That's a good contract. So I was like, if get him off my team, like I don't need him. But now it's like, now I have a Julius Randle jersey, but that jersey was from when he took us to the playoffs, right? I was like, it's only fitting. I show him my respect. Same thing with Brunson. I got a Brunson jersey. I was like, man, he's playing out of his mind. Show him my respect or whatever. And I was like, this year he's kind of shown it to where I was like hesitant on getting another Julius Randle jersey.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, should I not? Because he's playing out of his mind. But I just be prepared, because that's Knick fans are toxic. Knick fans are Julius Randle could have a 60 ball and they're still gonna find the reason to give him so much negativity. And it's funny that we talk about Julius Randle, because a lot of people are just giving him negativity just based on him holding Obi back.
Yeah.
What do you think about like Obi's position on the team, and like how it can like what can he do moving forward as far as, being behind Julius Randle?
The Obi situation is very tricky because he deserves more minutes, but it's also like how do you split the minutes between Randall and Obi when Randall, like when he's having amazing games, you don't like necessarily want to bench him too long. But I
Mm-hmm.
personally love Obi as a player. Last season, I thought he was improving really well and showing sparks that he could be like this next level guy for us. Especially the last few games of the last season, he had like a 30-point game, a 40-point game, and then the season was done. This season, obviously, he got hurt, and that impacted him. I think ever since he came back, he's been struggling, but last game we saw something really good from him. In 10 minutes, he was able to put up 14 points. That's crazy. And Also that got a lot of controversy because he only got 10 points when he was playing well. The coach benched him and put in Randall. And
Hmm.
I think I saw someone say this, like it's hard to like give Obi minutes and then how do you split the minutes up between him and Randall? Randall is one of our main guys. He needs to be playing majority of the game, but we also want to see Obi shine. So
Yeah.
I think he deserves more than 10 minutes, but Randall also deserves a majority of the minutes, and I think we need to see like how that's going to work out. I think Tibbs should like try giving him more minutes and see how that is. And especially don't bench him if he's playing good like in the moment. That's just not a
Hmm.
smart decision.
Hmm.
See where it goes. Like maybe he could have changed the game for us if he stayed in. But yeah.
There's a somebody had brought this up there in the post game of the Twitter Spaces where Nick Nurse, because he's another one that runs his players down to the ground. Like you could tell. But he played, I think it was the third quarter or the fourth quarter, where it was like 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
And he had Siakam and Fred VanVleet still sitting in there because remember at one point when we tied the game 86-86, we had the lead before they
Yeah.
tied it 86, right? When they took that lead, they still had their bench players in
Mhm.
and they never looked back. So because the bench was playing so
Exactly.
great, he had Van Vliet and Siakam still sitting there until it was ready to bring those two back in. They were already well rested and energized to go in. So you think about that, and you think about what the position that Obi was in on in that Raptors game. If he's playing the way he's playing, and you talk about how Randall's always gassed out at towards the end of games and
Yeah.
stuff, because you see it all the time. Randall looks like he just needs to rest, and Tibbs is playing him so many minutes. In that position where Obi's scoring sufficiently and going off, you keep
Yeah.
him in there until it's beneficial because Randall's getting a good amount of rest. Randall's getting a good amount of time to sit there and get rest because that way you bring him in the important moments of the game to possibly get us back in the groove of things, and he's set to go. So I thought that was a great comparison that somebody brought up because I was like, it's coaching 101.
Yeah.
It's like you see if RJ's in the second unit, for example, and he's scoring, I'm not gonna bench him just because he's a starter and he's playing with the second unit. I'll keep him there and I'll keep him in a groove of things just to have him, keep scoring. And then eventually I'll bring in somebody else from the bench to fill him in or whatever. And that way we're in the groove of things to where it's not so,
Yeah.
if up and down type of thing. So the Obi thing to me it's I feel bad for the kid because when we drafted him I was actually one of the guys that actually was happy that we drafted him. I do think we should have gone for a point guard like Tyrese Halliburton,
Yeah.
but knowing the Knicks, I figured they weren't going to go after him because it benefits RJ's development. So if you bring in a solid point guard like Tyrese and you see what he's doing with the Pacers, it helps RJ's development as a player. But they didn't do that. I gave Obi a chance, and I was actually happy with it to a certain extent because I know what the kid was doing in Dayton. It's just it's just tough. You can't really see much because coach has him in the corner all the time, wanting to shoot a three. Can't run an ISO play on Obi, so it's like people are starting to wonder if Obi's
Yeah.
useless. But it's like it's all Tibbs. It's all Tibbs. So Tibbs is the one that's running him down. So it's a very
It
tricky thing.
is.
It's very uncomfortable to see because as soon as Obi comes in, you're like, yep, I already know where he's going. He's going straight to the
Yep.
corner. So, um, but it's very I do think that if he was to get traded, because I know he was in trade talks at one point, I do think he'll get much more good opportunities because I know a coach is going to utilize him and use him for what he's known for, and that's to be a legit
Yeah.
scorer than to just sit in the corner and wait for the ball. So same thing with Cam Reddish. Same thing with Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish should, if they're gonna, I don't think they're gonna trade him, because I don't really believe the Knicks want a second round pick.
Yeah.
Like all the rumors about the Knicks, and I'm like, I don't want a second round pick
I
for
mean, we
Cam
got him for
Reddish.
a
Like, what
first.
was the exactly that if we get him for a second round pick, honestly, I'm gonna have to boycott Liam Rhodes as our. I'm serious. I'm serious because that makes no sense. You gave up a first round pick that and if I'm not mistaken, I think it was a first round pick for next year's draft. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure. I
I'm
don't
not too
remember,
sure either.
but I know it was a first. Yeah, I know it was a first round pick, and to say that you want a second round pick after you gave up a possible legit first round pick makes that's I'm not even a GM, and I know that's
Yeah.
not even that's not smart. No team would do that. No team would do that. And Cam has talent. That's what people forget. Cam is very good on both ends of the ball. It's just that him and Tibbs. What do you think? What do you think is the situation as far as him and Tibbs? Because I know it's between him and
Yeah,
Tibbs. There's nobody
exactly.
else.
At this point, if he's not playing, we have to know it's something personal, something we don't know about because before he got benched for that long period of time, he was playing good. He was helping us, especially in the fourth quarter. There was a few clutch shots he made for us, and you would think, okay, maybe this guy's gonna keep playing for us. And then all of a sudden, he's just benched and never plays again. And the thing about it is that we've seen Fournier play like a few games. We've seen Rose play in Chicago. That was it. But like, how come everyone else is getting that chance except for him? It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. Hopefully, I hope he does go to another team that will play him because it's a shame for him to sit on that bench every night and not be able to play. He has talent and he should be able to utilize it.
Yeah, another thing too, what makes no sense to me is why are you playing
Yeah,
Fournier over Reddish or over Rose? That makes no sense to me because even Rose is a much better player than Evan, and I'm just like, oh my god. Like even today, I have a very solid feeling that if Emmanuel quickly doesn't come back today, that Evan Fournier is gonna get another
probably.
good set of minutes, and it's I'm just saying, be prepared for the Cavs to not play like they played last game. Because last game they
Yeah,
were just missing shots. Donovan Mitchell wasn't scoring like that,
it's going to be a lot
and
different now.
not yeah, of course,
Mm-hmm.
especially with us on the losing streak. I think it could end today, but my thing is, if they need to win a game, they need to win today because of the fact that you have two big games on Wednesday and Friday, one against the Celtics and one against the Brooklyn Nets. And people could say, "Oh, we have a legit shot to beat the Nets." I disagree just because Kyrie is there, and Kyrie, the way they've been playing, Kyrie, they kind of they got out that 4 game losing streak that they
Yeah,
had. And I think they won like 2-3 straight since they got out that losing streak. So at any moment, Kyrie could drop a 30 ball, 40 ball,
exactly.
and again, they got other good set talents. They got the I forgot he comes off the bench.
I know there's Claxton,
He's
Nick Claxton.
Claxton is their starting center. Then you
Oh
have
yeah,
Seth Curry, who could just shoot the ball from anywhere. You also have the Asian guy. I
oh
forgot his
yeah,
name. Oh my god, I just had his name. Like it just came out of my mind. But he's another good shooter. So they have very good shooters. That again, the Knicks defense on the perimeter sucks. So you talk about the Nets utilizing that. Uh, but I think the Celtics are. I'm gonna be honest. I think the Celtics are gonna
yeah,
blow
for
us out the
sure,
water.
for sure.
So I don't see us beating the Celtics at all. I think it'll take number one. We're playing in Boston, so that's
Disadvantage.
yeah. We don't play well in TD Garden. Um, and what else? Yeah, they can't guard Jason Tatum. If you watch the way the Knicks play, they can't guard Jason Tatum. Like they have better coverage on Jaylen Brown than they do
Yeah,
with Jason Tatum, and that's just the honest fact. But yeah, it's definitely the next three games are definitely going to be interesting to see. Another thing I wanted to ask you too, since RJ got his extension, how do you think he's turned out? Because remember, he's kind of gone through like an ups and down type of thing, and then he got the injury. Then he's kind of sufficiently gone back to who he was. But like, what do you think? Do you think that he's gonna have like a Randall year? So where Randall played like an all-star and then he got his extension, then he played like crap last season and now he's playing to his all-star level, or you think it's a whole different set with RJ?
Yeah, so after RJ got that extension, we really thought he was gonna step up and be like Randall star type of player, but in the beginning of the season, he clearly wasn't at that level yet. And someone said this before, but at the beginning of every season, he struggles. And maybe that's just like him as a
Mm-hmm.
player. Maybe it's just like mentality or something at the beginning that he doesn't have it yet. But and then he had the flu for like 10 games or so and he was still playing. I don't know why he was still playing.
He was
And
still
that
playing, yeah,
really made him
yeah,
struggle. He went through a whole shooting slump and his numbers were awful. I don't know why coach kept him in, especially starting too. And that was hard for him, I'm sure. And Knicks fans were saying a lot about that, but we have to understand he was sick. That wasn't him. And after that, he's doing better. He's been averaging good numbers, over 20 points per game, but you know, you, he can definitely still reach that higher level. What is it going to take though? We're wondering what is it going to take for him to get there? Like is it a
yeah,
mentality thing? Does he need to work with like another shooting coach? I mean, I think he needs to be more aggressive, honestly. There's these times when he goes to the basket and then like we saw this against the Raptors game. Like he got blocked or he would turn the ball over a few times. I just like we need that bit more aggression so that he could dunk that ball. Like he has the power to do that. We saw that like that night when he dunked the ball and he also got he got
against the
fouled too.
Raptors,
We saw that. That's what I want to
yeah.
see more. He
Mm-hmm.
just took that ball and he went down the lane and dunked it. I want to see that more from him because I think a lot of times he's hesitant too. And when he starts a game like shooting awful, it affects him. He doesn't. I mean, he keeps shooting, but it affects him. So I don't know what it's gonna take.
Yeah, I like how he's
Yeah,
very aggressive, like as far as his play. Like he when he needs to, when he you could tell that
yeah,
when he's mad, he's mad. Like he holds himself accountable, and that's what I like because he's young. He knows he still has more time to develop, and the fact that he's young at this age and he's holding himself accountable because he understands his role and how much he means to the team. I
yeah,
like that. Like I'll forever. I don't have no hate bone or like any negative things to say about RJ. You know, when he's playing bad, I'll call him out. But it's the same thing with Brunson. It's the same thing with Randall. Now, if you're asking me would I trade RJ Barrett for a bigger piece, yes. I don't think RJ is that crazy to where if they wanted if a team was looking to trade for him and it was a bigger piece than RJ and he was more valuable and it would make
yeah,
sense for the Knicks, that I wouldn't trade him. I would absolutely trade if you tell me to that I could trade for SGA, I would
yes,
trade for
sir.
SGA. I'm sorry. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If Jalen Brunson was in that trade for SGA, Jalen Brunson's gone. Jalen Brunson's going to OKC. As much as I love Brunson, Jalen Brunson is going to OKC. I'm sorry because there were people telling me, "Why would you trade Brunson for for SGA?" And I was like, "Have you
It's
not seen
crazy.
what
He's
the kid
going
is doing
crazy.
this year? Like he's playing out of his mind. He's another
Yeah,
possible All-Star candidate. So it's the Clippers. I mean, not the Clippers. The Thunder. They're building something. You could definitely see what Sam Presti's doing with that team. They did it right. They tanked. They got their draft picks. I mean, they're one of the top teams. I think the top second team with the most picks in the league.
wow.
Because of the amount of trades that they did for first round picks. So they're consistently in the draft, building and building. You see the team they got now. That team is like, I think they're like a game out of
Yeah,
the play-in or something like that. So they could possibly make the play-in this year. Just just by how great they're playing. So it's that chemistry with SGA. I mean, you saw the first game when they
Yes.
blew us out in MSG. And so they got chemistry. Um, SGA is very he's a good facilitator. I think the most cool thing about it too is if he was in the Knicks, him and Grimes would be such a
Oh, for
dangerous
sure.
combination. Especially with the way Grimes is playing, I think him and Grimes would be uh, a very dangerous combination.
I would love to see
But
that.
it'll definitely, yeah, no, 100%. Um, what's it gonna? Yeah, what's your predictions for tonight's game? Like, how do you see it playing out? How do you see the score going? Like, do you think who do you think is gonna have a career high? Like, who do you think is gonna score the most? Like,
Yeah,
how do you see
so
this
I
playing
mean,
out?
like you said, tonight's game is probably going to be a lot different than the last time we played them. Our team has changed and their team has gotten better. And we don't have Robinson right now, so that's going to really impact us tonight. And it's been impacting us.
They
Yeah,
got Jared Allen.
exactly. And I don't think
Hmm.
Sims or Hardenstein can compare to that. So unfortunately, I think we might have a chance, but I think that we might end up losing. It might be close. I don't know. It's hard to tell because it's how you start and it's how you finish. But I really think it's how you start because there's some games we start awful. We're letting 30 points to the team in the first quarter, and that sets the tone for the rest of the game. And we're never able to catch up. So we got to see how the first quarter plays out. And I mean, I'm hoping Brunson and RJ and Randall can all perform well tonight, as they usually do. But sometimes they do they struggle and have bad shooting nights. But we're gonna see how it plays out. And I don't know if they said that if Quickly's playing or not. I'm not sure, but he could be big for us.
I think they say he's questionable. Yeah, I think they say he's questionable. I'm hoping that he does play
Yeah,
today because he's been going nuts. Um, when they took him out the starting lineup because RJ came back, I was afraid that his scoring and the way he was playing
yeah, me
was
too.
going to diminish because he's going back to the bench. But it obviously hasn't changed him at all, which I'm glad. He was obviously such a huge loss, during that Raptors game. Because you see how much he
Yeah,
scored as he passes the ball. He has a great IQ. So I hope he comes back. Regardless of what it is, losing Mitchell Robinson hurt.
yep,
Regardless, you can say what you want about Mitch. Um, the funny thing about Knicks fans, and I bring up Knicks fans when it comes to Mitch, is because like 3-4 months ago, in the beginning of the season, they wanted him traded. They wanted him gone. They didn't understand why we had to eat that contract that we gave him, and then all of a sudden he goes down after turning it around, and it's like, damn, like now we're screwed. I was like, but 4
yeah.
months ago, y'all were just saying that he should have been traded. So I'm like, I don't see where
I don't get it.
how the energy changes. Um, I'm like, okay, I don't get me wrong. When they had the opportunity to trade him, they could have, right? They obviously decided to go with him. There's a lot of positives that he brings to the Knicks, and that's block shots defensively, offensive
Yeah,
and defensive rebounds. The only thing that doesn't help is the fact that he's very how do you say it?
oh
He
yeah,
can't guard the perimeter.
that's true.
So when he can't guard the perimeter, it anybody, like I remember at one point, I think it was this year or last year. Um, we played the Hawks at one point. Trae Young was just every time they had a mismatch and Mitchell Robinson was guarding him, it was like, yep, ISO ball. That's it. I'm scoring. Whether he was gonna blow by him for a layup or
Yeah,
he was gonna shoot a three. And most of the time it went in. So, that's like the only negative. He this season he kinda got, better with it. With his defense on the perimeter, but overall it was that's one of like the negatives that I see with
that's a good
Mitch.
point.
Um, how do you feel about like Mitch? When he comes back, do you feel like he's gonna be the same? Or you think he's gonna regress because he's been out for so long?
Well, I mean, I think every player, as soon as they come back from injury, they're obviously still dealing with it and to get back into that routine of playing every other night. So we're obviously he's not going to be up to par when he comes back. but hopefully training will help him. I mean, it's tough to say. You never know how a guy's going to come back from injury, especially like one that like this that required surgery and all that. I don't know how he's going to be when he comes back, but I'm hoping for the best that he's the same player because we need him if we want to try to make the play in at least.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm hoping we make the
Yeah.
sixth seed at least. If we have the opportunity to make the sixth seed and we can get out the plane, uh, I'd want that. I this team, if you want to be honest, this team's a first round exit. But again, they're not going to tank as much as certain people want them to. They're looking to make the playoffs, so I'm not going to be like, nah, I'm
Yeah,
not going to get
I know.
behind that. I'm just not that type of person. So, um, I do see a big game today though from Julius Randle. I think Randle, they're
For
definitely going to be
sure.
double teaming him because that's just how they. That's how everybody knows that they got to double team Randle so that he doesn't go off. But I think he's going to go off. Um, I like that Randle's kind of taking more accountability. So with Randle taking more accountability, it's better. How do you see the benefits of us being in the playoffs? Like, do you see it's going to be the same thing as 2-3 years ago when we made the playoffs in COVID year? Or do you think it's going to be a much different thing?
With the schedule that we have remaining, I think it's going to be super difficult to get in the play-in. I mean, I honestly think we should have taken advantage of the games that we've already played. We should definitely have won more games, especially those close games, because that would have put us at least at a better chance in making the play-in. Because now we're playing the best teams. There's obviously basketball. You know, every
Hmm.
team has a chance to win any game, but you know, look at the odds. It's going to be hard for us to win against these teams, and but I'm going to be supportive and positive and say that we will make the plan. Hopefully.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully, I'm dying to see that MSG crowd go nuts. I found the link to game two, because I've been trying to find like the
Yeah,
full game online and I couldn't find it. And then I found the link that had the full game, and I'm just like watching it, and I was like, damn, that crowd.
I
I was like,
know.
it gives you goosebumps. I'm like, oh, I
We
missed
need
that.
playoffs in MSG.
Um, final, yeah. Oh, big time, big time. I went to the Mets
Oh
wild
yeah,
card for game one, and I was like, that crowd. I was like, oh my god. I was like, I miss playoff energy. I mean, the Mets haven't made the playoffs consistently, but the last time we did, you know,
yeah.
the crowd went nuts. The crowd was always nuts, always
It's
active. Like
different.
playoff energy is just so much different. It's so much fun. And some advice: if you ever go to like a Knicks playoff game, if they consistently make it, or if you ever go to like a Mets playoff game, if they make it, or like the Giants, for example,
Yeah,
it's worth the money. Like a lot of people would be
it's
like, "Oh,
worth
it's
it.
too expensive." I'm like, "No, it's I'd rather pay so much money for one game, knowing that
Yeah,
I'm gonna get a great experience. Because even if they lose, the fans make it worth it. Just because you're around so many like good people that enjoy the team, that love the team. So,
exactly.
it's very fun. Um, my last two questions. One would be speaking of the Giants. How did you feel about their loss against
I
the
would say I had
Eagles?
better hopes for them. You know, coming off that when they won that first game, we thought, okay, this is going. They're going to the championship. They're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to see this team. And there's been
No,
so many
Super Bowl, yeah.
like theories about how the Giants will make the Super Bowl because of they're looking at like the other years we made the playoffs. But I mean, I'm super disappointed we lost. But even from the first quarter, you kind of knew that's what was going to happen. Philadelphia came.
Oh yeah,
They came there
yeah,
and well, they
yeah,
were there. They started off with energy, momentum,
yeah.
and they led the game from there. So I'm disappointed, but I think we had a good season, and I'm proud of our guys.
Do you think they're gonna resign both Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, or do you think it's gonna be like a one signing and then
I
the
think
other
they
one
should
leaves?
resign both of them. Obviously, Saquon's been huge for us, and Daniel Jones is a big part of that too. He got us here. You know, he deserves a lot of credit. We don't give him a lot of credit from the previous seasons, obviously, because we had losing records, but this was our first playoff win since 2012. That definitely says something about him. So I think he should be resigned.
I'll tell you this much: if the Giants have an
That
opportunity to
too.
get Lamar Jackson,
That too.
Daniel Jones can say goodbye. I'm gonna just say it right now. If the Giants can put their hands in the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes, Daniel Jones is gonna have to go somewhere else. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because Lamar Jackson is a special talent. I don't think he's going back to Baltimore with all the stuff that's going around and them not wanting to, I get it why he doesn't want to play. Because he doesn't want to risk injury and possibly losing out on so much money, even though he already did. I think it was
Oh
like
wow.
230 million. So that right there is, I think so. But again, is people make their own decisions. And he's doing what's best for him. He's got people around him that are kind of advising him to take that route. But with anybody that has Lamar Jackson, your team is so much better. So if the Giants, the way that their team, there's so much free agents they gotta
Yeah.
sign: Isaiah Hodgins, Richie James, which a lot of Giant fans don't want Richie James, and I'm like, but he's still valid. Like I don't understand, but I think Giant fans once they want to build, and I like Coach Dable. I've been a supporter of Dable since like week 3, so I do think
Agreed.
they can only go up from here, especially since they shocked a lot of people um, and they definitely turned a lot of heads. And it's now I don't think we're in the position of tanking anymore. I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah.
You just have to build. That's it, and it's just now it's only up from here. They do have to look at this Eagles team though, and they got to add more pieces to beat this Eagles team, because this Eagles team from offense to defense is nothing but dominance. Like the 49ers are going to
Yeah,
have a
like
hard
we
time.
completely got
So
destroyed in that game.
it was bad. It was bad. My last question was mostly, based around you and your whole thing around the media. Since you're in the media game and you're covering the Knicks and possibly branching off to like other team or whatever, what is your goal coming up for like this year as far as the brand, as far as you covering just the Knicks? Like, are you going to cover just the Knicks? Are you looking to cover other teams as well? Are you trying to expand your brand and stuff like that? Because I've seen a lot of your coverage on the Knicks, and it's
Thank you.
very well presented. Your stuff as far as the Knicks. And like I said before in the beginning, there's not a lot of women in the media game, especially sports media, that don't cover it. So the fact that you're one of them that is taking the time to post coverages on the Knicks and really cover them like that is
Thank you
very
so
cool to
much.
see, and I'm all for it, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on. So what is your like goal coming up, and what do you want to do, and where you want to take your brand as far as
Yeah,
just covering
so
the Knicks?
I'll continue to cover the Knicks through the rest of their season. I've been thinking about this recently, but like on off days when we don't play, that I could cover just NBA news or just sports in general, because I do want to expand that. Like I don't just want to stick to one thing, even though like the Knicks are my passion. I think in order to build the brand, I have to explore other things and just be in sports in general. But yeah, I'm trying to stay consistent with posting like every other day or every day. I'm trying to connect with individuals like you and just build off of that. I love connecting with people, like talking to them, seeing what they say, hearing their opinions. So that's important to me as I like build followers in the page. I'd like to, meet new people. So that's a big thing for me. And I'm just taking it one day at a time, honestly. Like this started off as something for fun, and now I'm trying to take it more seriously, see where it can go from there. Maybe if I could, like start like become like writing articles for people or anything like that. That would be awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. It's the same thing here. Same thing here. Like I told you before, I'm not working now, so I'm trying to expand my brand. So I would, like I said, it is the first time I'm meeting you, and I've given you so much compliment about what you're doing. I would love to eventually do, different collabs, as far as like Knicks goes, because I have a certain section there, with my media, with my social media when it comes to the Knicks. So if down the
Thank
road, if
you.
you want to
Thank you
work
for the
together,
offer.
I'm all for it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, but I appreciate you joining me. Appreciate you taking the time to do this podcast with me. And thank you so much for joining me. If you guys don't know, follow her at Mill Media on Instagram.
Yeah.
You have a Twitter too,
My
right?
Twitter handle is different though. It's just a
Hmm.
kid from NYC.
Okay,
I have to change that to be the same thing
okay.
because it's a little
Um,
confusing.
um, Well, yeah, if you guys are on Twitter as well, follow her on Twitter as well. And I do recommend you to join these Twitter spaces too. If you don't join them, definitely come up, and if you want to request and say your takes. It's like even if you want to join today after you watch the game, you could join. They let you speak. They let anybody speak, and just get your take on what the game is. I'll be in. If anything, I'll send you a link to one of
Thanks.
them, and you could join the one I'm in. And if you want to come and you want to say your take on the game, they let you speak, and they let you, give your opinion on what happened today as far as the win or losses. So it'd be definitely cool to hear your
Thank you
take
for
as far as
having
it. But
me.
I appreciate you joining me.
I had a great time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But I appreciate. Of course, of course. But with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and I'll see
See
you
ya.
guys
Bye.
on the next episode. Peace.